but he's not the savior yet. I mean, the savior is a good offensive line. The savior is a number one wide receiver. The savior is Leonard Fournette actually being what he was as a college prospect. Everyone had Nick Foles set in stone to be the next Jaguars quarterback since the beginning of free agency, even before that, and when Blake Bortles was released. Everybody was like, Blake Bortles is gone. Nick Foles is our guy. Just put it right there. You know, I'm about to buy his jersey right now. For many Jaguars fans, this is a dream come true. The missing piece to the puzzle. The savior of the Jaguars. But is he really the missing piece? I'll tell you right now. Welcome to the show. If you guys have any suggestions for videos you guys want me to make, go ahead and hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm KidBlueOfficial. And on Instagram, I'm KidBlueRB27. Links are all in the description. Go ahead and link me articles, link me storylines, things like that you guys want me to talk about here on the show. If you want to go back to 2017, then I guess quarterback was the missing piece of that team. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the defense because, you know, even back then, even now, they are still great. But you look at the team in 2017. You had Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, the Allen brothers. They were a huge part of the offense, and they're no longer on the Jaguars roster anymore. Leonard Fournette was just coming in the league, and we thought he was going to be that young stud running back that's going to lead their offense to the promised land and just and get crazy amount of stats, crazy amount of touchdowns, just be a constant threat like Ezekiel Elliott is for the Dallas Cowboys, and how Saquon Barkley is for the New York Giants. But that just doesn't seem to be the case now. Marquise Lee and Keelan Cole were the third and fourth wide receivers at the time, and pretty damn good options at the number 3 and number 4 positions at wide receiver. The offensive line was never great, but who knows, it may be even better than in 2017 this year with the new addition of rookie offensive tackle Jawaan Taylor. Like I said before, we're going to leave the defense out of it because the defense was great back then. It's probably even better now, and we're just going to leave them out of that. We're just going to be talking about the offense because, quite frankly, the defense in the first place, when that defense got formed back in, 2015, 2016, when it started coming to form into what it is now, they were the only reason why they were a threat in the NFL. So, back to the offense. You look at last year. The offense currently consists of 4 of the 5 starters that were on IR last year. Those names being Cam Robinson, your franchise left tackle at the moment, Andrew Norwell, your $16 million guard, Brandon Linder, a pretty decent center, and Will Richardson is soon to be replaced, but still your starting right tackle as of right now. The only guy who remained off of IR that's coming into this year on that offensive line is A.J. Cann. Okay? Well, A.J. Cann's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but if that's 4 out of the 5 starters you guys had on IR last year, do you really expect them all to stay healthy, not have re-injured injuries and lingering injuries from last year, and even so, do you expect them to play on a high level? Moving on to the running back position, let's just say Leonard Fournette hasn't lived up to the expectations in the slightest. I mean, sure, you can discount his injury last year. You can discount his play last year due to his injuries and the fact that the offensive line was beat up and he wasn't really able to do anything. He had just about over 400 yards and 3.4 yards per carry last year, which is tremendously bad from the second-year running back. Coming into this year, he's going to be the third-year running back, and it's just not looking good for Leonard Fournette. But even so, last year, the year before that, in his rookie year, he didn't blow us away either. He had just over 1,000 yards, clocking in about 1,040 yards and 9 touchdowns, 3.9 yards a carry. And that to me does not tell me bell cow running back. That to me does not tell me premier running back like you see with a bunch of running backs in the league right now. You look at Todd Gurley, you looked at Ezekiel Elliott, you look at now Saquon Barkley. These guys really don't need spectacular talent behind them like a Leonard Fournette is going to need. You already see that now that the Jaguars are starting to get in this depth. Last year they brought in Carlos Hyde because he was hurt, and then this year they brought in Alfred Blue. And if you noticed, they're taking all these rejects from other teams that these teams aren't really going to miss them when they're gone. You look at Alfred Blue, the reject from Houston. Thomas Rawls, the reject from Seattle. I know he had a short stint with the Jets, but who cares about that? And Benny Cunningham, the reject from the Bears and the Rams. It just doesn't give me any optimism if I'm a Jaguars fan for this running back group to carry this offense, because in my honest opinion, that's where I see this offense thriving. It's in the running game. It's not through the air, and I'll tell you why in just a second. They need to depend on the run game, because with a wide receiver core like D.D. Westbrook and Marquise Lee starting, and then you have Keelan Cole, DJ Chark, and Chris Conley behind them, how do you expect them to be a threat in the air? Now, don't get me wrong, these are talented players, but none of them really strike you as, that long sword of the offense. You look at Nick Foles, you think of him as a warrior. When a warrior goes into battle, he needs to have amount of weapons that he can use. I mean, you have Leonard Fournette there, maybe he's just that boulder type guy there, that tank type guy, but he's not really going to do much for you. Nick Foles needs weapons, okay? He has a bunch of daggers. He doesn't have any long swords, okay? He doesn't have anything to really, strike through that defense and, put a gash in them and, keep it moving. He doesn't have that. He has Marquise Lee, who cannot stay healthy. Marquise Lee, who also spent time on the IR last season, and throughout his whole career has never been able to stay healthy, and on top of that, never been able to stay consistent. Right now, you're looking at him as being the number one threat in the air for the Jacksonville Jaguars. D.D. Westbrook, kind of like a clone of Marquise Lee, in respects that he's a shorter guy, a slot receiver that's pretty much going to do all his damage from the slot. Keelan Cole is a deep threat, but that's pretty much all he is. Same thing with DJ Chark, and Chris Conley the same. I mean, how do you expect this offense through the air to be anything special? On top of that, it's not like you have another weapon to depend on at the tight end position. You look at Jeff Swaim. I mean, the Cowboys wanted him to be something for how many years now? I'm a Giants fan, so I keep up with the Cowboys news. How many years were there expected for Jeff Swaim to do something? Ben Koyak, who's been with the Jaguars for quite a while, hasn't been able to do anything. James O'Shaughnessy, the same thing. And you can't expect Josh Oliver, the rookie Josh Oliver, to be the Travis Kelce or Jason Witten of this respective offense. It's just not going to happen. He can't be that guy to that number one receiver threat like Travis Kelce and Jason Witten was in their days. The bottom of the line here is Nick Foles is certainly an upgrade over Blake Bortles, and he's definitely going to be a threat with the Jaguars. He's definitely going to be a threat this season to win some games and possibly even make the playoffs. Who knows? They get right back to where they left off in 2017 and possibly make the playoffs. But they're not going to be led into the promised land anytime soon. If not, I mean, if they do win a Super Bowl, I expect him to win it probably in his third or fourth year on his contract, and he only signed a 4-year deal, so probably in the later years of his contract. Don't get me wrong, the defense is great. They have a lot to work on that offense. A lot to work on that offense. Nick Foles, what he is, he's not exactly a playmaker. Yes, he's like a postseason god, but he's not exactly a playmaker. You don't expect Nick Foles to make any crazy plays, that mostly are about him. It's usually about the wide receiver involved, the offensive line's blocking, things like that. He depends off of that. You could argue he's the best game manager in the NFL right now. You could argue that. He's probably the best game manager in the NFL right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a game manager at quarterback. We've seen it for a couple years. Alex Smith has been one of the best quarterbacks to do so. And I mean, you look at Alex Smith's numbers; they're great, right? And he's led a lot of those teams to the playoffs. You look at his days with the 49ers. You look at his days with the Kansas City Chiefs, especially. That's probably his prime years there. And then with the Washington Redskins, when his half year with the Redskins, he actually played pretty well. You look at game managers in the league, and they have a good track record, but they're not Brady. They're not Rodgers. They're not Wilson. You're not expecting these type of quarterbacks to make plays. I'm talking about, game managers. You're not expecting them to make those type of plays that Rodgers and Brady and Wilson would make. What I'm saying about Nick Foles is that he's not going to bring out a different player in all these other players who have already been with the Jaguars before with Blake Bortles. He's not going to make them discover talent in themselves that they've never seen or reached before with Blake Bortles. He's not going to do that. Are they going to play a little better? Are they going to be able to extend plays a little bit more and, have good deep balls on the field and be able to escape the inevitable interceptions here and there, because Blake Bortles doing an interception almost every game? Yes, I mean, you're going to see a lot less interceptions, a lot less fumbles, a lot less crappy plays, things like that. You're going to be more satisfied with Nick Foles, but he's not the savior yet. I mean, the savior is a good offensive line. The savior is a number one wide receiver. The savior is Leonard Fournette actually being what he was as a college prospect. That is what the Jaguars need. They've got the quarterback. Now go ahead and get back to those 2017 days where you had good options at wide receiver, and you had a running back coming into the league, a college prospect that was you actually had optimism for. I mean, as a Jaguars fan right now, I'm not a Jaguars fan, but if I'm a Jaguars fan, I don't have much optimism in this Jaguars offense. Yes, I like Nick Foles, but I'm not optimistic in this offensive line. 4 out of the 5 starters were on IR last year. You can't expect them all to be healthy again, okay? And you can't expect them to all have consistent play because they've never played consistently. This is one of the this is one of the below average offensive lines we're talking about. So even at 100% health, they're not great. And then at tight end, you don't have anybody there. And then Leonard Fournette, he has to depend on Alfred Blue and Benny Cunningham and Thomas Rawls to pick up the slack for him. Come on. So this offense has a lot of problems. But, as far as it goes, they have the quarterback situated. So if you guys have any suggestions for videos you guys want me to make, go ahead and hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm KidBlueOfficial. And on Instagram, I'm KidBlueRB27. Links are all in the description. Go ahead and link me articles, link me storylines, things like that you guys want me to talk about here on the show. And all that being said, I am Kid Blue, and I will see you guys in the next video.